Hello everyone, I am Hamid Rahman, a mechanical engineer, and I've created this channel to showcase the works of my company, to showcase the engines that we're working on and the cars, the electric cars that we're working on, also to showcase our solutions for our sustainable energy homes. So please subscribe to this channel, all right? So for today's video, I just want to do a short review or short reflection on this book that I just read. It's called Shoe Dog. It's a book about the founder of Nike and also about the Nike company and the Nike brand itself. All right. So at the beginning, Phil Knight, who was the founder of Nike, when he was in college, he used to have this thought, this what if thoughts. What if the dominance of the German brand, the German athletic brand, like Adidas and Pumas at that point. What if this dominance is actually challenged? Soon after he graduated from college, and after graduation he decided to travel the world. He just wanted to travel the world, see different places, see different cultures, experience different cultures. But of course, after graduation he has no money, but he was able to get his dad to give him some money so he can make this trip. At the beginning, he went to Hawaii, and then afterwards he went to Egypt, and then he went to Greece, and then afterwards he went to Japan. Okay, but now while he was in Japan, he started thinking about the same thought that he had while he was in college, while he was in school, and then he thought about just having a meeting with the Japanese athletic manufacturer. So he had this meeting and during the meeting they started talking in the conference room, and then he told the Japanese executive that he had a company, he had a serious distribution company in the US, and he told them the name of the company is Blue Ribbon. And then also he told them he had this vast massive distribution network in the US, basically from coast to coast. But again, at that point, I believe this is 1961, he had absolutely none of that. He didn't have any company, he didn't have any distribution network. Actually, he just finished school at that point. So, but somehow he was able to convince the Japanese executive that that he had this company, and they ended up signing a contract with him so he can distribute their shoes in the US. So this is what happened at the beginning, of course. And then while he was in the meeting, he placed his first order with the company, and this was a $50 order, by the way. And then after the meeting, he just even the $50 order that he just placed, he didn't have the money to cover it. But right after the meeting, he left the conference room, left the building, and then went to find a phone and call his dad, back home in the US, and then ask his dad to send the $50 to the Japanese company to pay for the order that he just placed. So basically, this was the beginning of Nike. At that point, he was called Blue Ribbon, but again, this was how Phil Knight, get started in buying and selling shoes. So as I mentioned earlier, the first order that he placed while he was in Japan, his dad borrowed him the money. When he returned home, to the US, of course, he continues buying and selling shoes from Japan. So so his dad continued, lending him the money to continue buying the athletic shoes. Again, this continues up to a point where he was doing, a few thousands, in sales and in revenue, to a point where his dad can no longer sustain. So, but when this happened, I think this was about $3,000 or so. That's when his dad told him he cannot afford that anymore. So, but when this happened now, his dad took him to his bank and then co-signed for him so he can get a loan from the bank. And basically, this is what happened. And then he continued to work with that bank, as his company continues to grow. So he left Japan and he returned to the US, and then he came back home. And then when he came back, few months later, he received the first order that he placed, the $50 order that he placed while he was in Japan. And when he received those shoes, then the hustle began. All right. So basically, what he will do, he will take the shoes, put them in his car, and then find any high school or college in his state, and then just drive there, then find the athletic coaches and athletic students, and then try to sell them the shoes, from his car. So again, he will put the shoes in his car, drive to a high school or college, and then sell those shoes to anyone who will buy them. So basically, this is what he did for a few months, and then a few years, and then he met another guy by the name of Johnson. So Johnson was in California while Phil Knight was in Oregon. So Johnson started leaving California to go to other states also to find high school and colleges to sell the shoes. So by the time Johnson was basically covering the whole West Coast to sell shoes. So of course, after a few years, his parent basement was no longer enough. So he left and got his own apartment. And again, doing the same thing, buying the shoes from Japan, the Tiger shoes from Japan, and then when they receive them, they will just try to sell them off, finish just orders, and then as soon as they finish just those orders, then he will place a bigger order for more shoes to sell. And of course, again, after a few years, he hired a few more individuals, and then again his apartment was no longer enough to sustain the growth of his business, of his company. And then this was when he rented an office, like a warehouse basically. And then this is what they keep doing, buying shoes from Japan, selling them here in the US, basically putting the shoes in the car, drive to colleges, drive to high school, and also sometimes drive to athletic meets and track meets and stuff, and track activities in the US, and then just trying to sell shoes in those events and in those locations. Okay, so what was the next crisis? What was the next problem? Well, again, many years ago, while he was in Japan, he again at the conference room, securing a contract with the Tiger Shoe company, he told them that he had this huge company, he had this huge distribution network in the US, but those individuals, the Japanese company, Japanese company executive started visiting the US and to look at to observe the US market and also observe their distributor, Phil Knight, the Blue Ribbon company. And then of course when they came to the US, they noticed that, and they saw that actually he did not have any huge company, he didn't have any huge distribution. He was just a small business individual trying to basically grow, trying to build a company from scratch. It wasn't already there before. This was just a new company with a new beginning. Okay, but again, they worked with him for many years, all the way up. They worked with him for approximately 10 years or so, and that's when the problem starts. So the new executive at the Tiger Shoe company decided that they wanted to work with a different distributor in the US. Basically, they want to cut him off. They want to end the contract that they had with him of distributing their athletic shoes in the US. So when this happened, of course, this triggered some kind of a lawsuits and things start to get messy. But also while this was happening, Phil Knight actually heard about this earlier, that the Japanese company is trying to make this decision. He's trying to find a replacement for him. So when he found out about this, he too started making preparation about this, because again at that point they were doing about 8 million in revenue, and they have a lot of employees. He had a lot of employees. There are a lot of stuff going on. So basically, it was a real company at this point. So now they decided, okay, instead of just shutting down, closing down, and just instead of just go out of business, they will. He decided that they will find another company in Japan, find another athletic shoe company to sell their shoes in the US, but with a small difference. Now, what he decided and what they decided was instead of just buying shoes from Japan and then selling them here in the US, now they are going to make their own brand. But you see, they are going to make their own brand and then go to Japan, give the shoe manufacturer their own brand, and ask those manufacturers to manufacture their brand of shoes, and then they will sell those shoes instead of just selling whatever brand the Japanese company had or give them. So this was the change that they made with this new situation, and this was the beginning of Nike. This was the beginning of the Nike brand, you know. And now again, he went to Japan, find a couple of athletic shoe manufacturer, and he was able to sign contract with those, and then they started manufacturing the Nike brand itself. About the bankers and with his bank account, again, while he was running the company, he will get a loan for the order that he was making, and then pay off the loan as he sell those shoes. But during this process, they had some kind of a routine. You know, Phil with the bankers, anytime he will come for a loan, they will, you know, call him into the office, into the conference room, and sit him down, and then talk to him in a very condescending manner, in a very disrespectful manner. And he mentioned that this was the most difficult things he had to go through in you know, while creating the company, while, you know, developing his company. And he mentioned that, you know, the banks started to basically shut him down, thinking that it's too risky, and even at the point where I believe, even though this wasn't explicitly mentioned in the book, but I believe one of those banks, I mean the second bank, even tips the FBI that perhaps the company that Phil was running is actually not a real company, and that it might be a scam or a fraud. Strangely, even though it was a real company, even though he was buying and selling shoes, but yet this bank, I believe, you know, told the FBI that this perhaps is not even a real company, that he is engaged in some kind of a scam or some kind of a fraud. So lastly, you know, after he resolved the situation with the IRS, I mean, he was able to go public. And when this, I mean, the Nike company was able to go public. And when this happened, you know, him, Phil Knight, and then with all the other individuals that started with the company, you know, Blue Ribbon and then Nike, all of those individuals become a multi-millionaire, like overnight, you see. And also, of course, by the end of the book, you know, the Nike company was well established, you know, in the country and in the world. And Steve Knight now, you know, had a $10 billion net worth, you know, by the end of the book. All right. So basically, this is all I want to discuss. And again, please subscribe to this channel. And thanks for watching, and thanks for listening.